In a labour-related matter now, the fatal George construction building collapse has raised questions around the extent of the investigation into this incident, while a desperate rescue mission continues following the death of 6 people so far, over 20 construction workers saved and more than 40 others unaccounted for. The Labour Department is now expected to play a prominent role in the probe. Minister Thulas Nxesi speaks to us about this. Thank you so much for your time, Minister. Indeed, a serious tragedy this is, but that question has emerged now about how the department deals with a probe into a matter of this nature, particularly as construction workers were on site at the time of the incident, as sensitive as the current circumstance is.
Thank you very much. Firstly, let's convey our heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of the deceased construction workers who are involved in this incident, and also wish those speedy recovery of the survivors. Of course, no words can be able to deal or express the sorrow which is felt for the lives lost. But the issue which you are raising, as we speak now, there are what I would call the multiple disaster service personnel, which are including the SARPs. And the SARPs search and rescue units with sniffer dogs, and they are involved in the safety regulation to try and retrieve those trapped in the construction or those trapped construction workers. So a number of the construction crew on the site at the time of the incident and the deceased workers have been reported, but at this stage we cannot be able to say that. But I want to emphasize one thing. As a department, we cannot be able at this stage to take over that site, that disaster site, until those teams I'm talking about have done their work. And only once they are finished, that we can be able to be handed over that site officially, and then we do our work. But our teams, are right on the ground. They are led by our DG and the Inspector General. They are already there.
I accepted, Minister, that it may be too soon to talk about the handing over of that site as rescue operations are underway, as we've been showing right here on Newzroom Afrika, live visuals of that particular incident. I'm interested in finding out as well the gravitas and magnitude of a probe of this nature, especially now that the developing construction company has been identified and has been communicated to the media. What relevance does that play at such an early stage?
Well, at this particular stage, we don't want to preempt anything, but it's very clear that there might be serious issues in terms of Section 31 and 32 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which we call them the OHSA. And once then the site has been handed over, we started the investigations, we would be able to determine. But what is very clear, this is a very, very serious accident. It's one of the few we've had such a number of employees, and who have so many employees who have been trapped, especially in the construction site. We will have to look into all those processes. We've had some incidents before, where some of them have taken us 2 years before we could complete, and some of them a year, some of them 3 years. But once we've done that, it's only then that we hand over to the NPA to decide to prosecute or not. For instance, there's one case which happened in a site in Cape Town where people died because of an explosion. What was very funny to us, we thought that the employer had to respond. And what happened? The employer decided that they could not continue with the case. There was nothing wrong. I mean, the NPA, they decided that they could not continue with the case. There was nothing wrong, which had been done by the employer. But in terms of our own investigation, we thought there's a lot to answer from the side of of the employers.
And that loudly, Minister, speaks to how much really the Labour Department then plays a role within an investigation such as this to get to a stage of prosecutorial level, but at the same time where accountability is placed at the rightful door. And here, why I'm raising these matters is the issues around possibly undocumented individuals that would have been working on that side.
Well, we can't say at this stage. We will see as we are dealing with the issues, as we are dealing with our own investigation. And I must emphasize, the investigation which might be done by the security forces, the SAPs in particular, totally different from us. Ours, it's controlled by us, it's led by our own inspectors. We will arrive to our own conclusions. If there are undocumented workers or whatever mishap which is there, the employer will have to answer. And I must emphasize this. A number of people have sacrificed our employers. They've sacrificed the issues of health and safety for the workers. And therefore, we still need to be very hard to those, but we can't preempt the conclusions of the investigation which is going to start. For now, we will observe. Our team will remain there until the site has been handed over.
You are playing an oversight role as the Labour Department and emergency authorities earlier this afternoon, having stressed that this is not the time for politics, but to save lives where possible. To what extent then does a probe of this nature then involve that close cooperation between the department itself, the company developer, and its engineers in particular?
Obviously, we can't at this stage try and abuse the pain which is felt by the families for political expediency. You are correct. But what we have to do is to cooperate with those who are dealing the investigation. If we are requested or by the various agencies which are there, like SAPs, to cooperate with them, we will do that. But at this stage, it's still a SAPs matter. And then once they request us to help in one way or another, we will be there. But that is not yet our investigation. Our investigation, and I want to emphasize, will only start once the site has been handed over to us.
Thank you so much for your time on the sensitive matter. Minister Thulas Nxesi talking to us about the Labour Department's role in the George building collapse.